MSC Cruisecast is a Triple T production. Now, the Taste Try Travel team of Beth and Chris.
Hello, Beth.
Hello, Chris.
And hello to all the people in Triple T land. Is that what we're calling this area?
Sure.
Triple T land.
Our little corner of the U-verse.
Do we have any munchkins in Triple T land? Because that would be...
We do.
That would be... That's right, we do.
Hey guys, welcome. Let me get the official part of this out of the way. Welcome back to this week's MSC Cruisecast. That was it. That was the official.
Wow.
That was it.
We had to make time for that?
Didn't go very far.
No, it didn't.
So, yeah, just a quick reminder.
Speaking of munchkins, our
little munchkin. This is Chris's original art. This is our Bring Back Steampunk Humpty Dumpty. Find us when we're on one of our cruises. We're going to give you one. That's the only way you can find them, and they're in a little special spot. So we're excited to
card carrying case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry we missed you guys last week.
Exactly.
Life. That's all I have to say. That's it.
I think people know when you say life.
We have a little bit more of an in-depth podcast for you this week. So I've wanted to talk about some of these things for a while, and then I found this all in one article. And it's maybe not the frilly things to talk about. But it's something really that we love about MSC, and it's the sustainability. Before we do that, though,
MSC is always innovating in the cruise area.
Yes.
So you gotta like name these things.
I keep forgetting because I can't see his screen, so I don't know. What do we name it? I don't.
MSC Innovation.
Oh, cool. Okay. That's great.
Does that encapsulate what we're going to talk about?
Absolutely.
All right. But before we're going to talk about
because there's also some Triple T innovation going on. There has been so much work going on behind the scenes here. Chris is going to tell you about it.
Well, I'm going to tell you about a small part of it. What?
I have my shout out too. Don't forget.
Oh, okay. We'll do that right after I do this, because you held up the... My God, it's my Valentine mug. You held up for everybody on YouTube. You held up the sticker of Steampunk Humpty Dumpty that I designed, and I had a really good time designing that, and our official logo for our group cruise next October 25th. It's 2025.
Yes, it's the logo for World America.
Yeah,
that's how good it is.
Exactly. If MSC would like to use it, just let me know.
Be a small price.
So I had such a good time designing that. I really did, and I think it looks good on shirts and
nobody
stickers
can really
and
see
stuff
it.
like that.
Hold on just a second.
Oh, that's our Steampunk Humpty Dumpty shirt Beth is wearing.
I'm wearing our merchandise.
You gotta remember that the people are listening too. You can't just...
That's your job.
You gotta describe what you're doing there.
That's your job.
Okay. So what I decided to do was make a little design every month. I'm going to make a design every month. It's going to be the ship of the month.
Yep.
The ship of the month club, even though it's not a club.
Well, it kind of is a club.
Well, it kind of is a club but you don't have to pay monthly to do it. Well, you do have to pay monthly to get a sticker if you want a sticker or a shirt or something like that. But it's not like membership dues.
Right.
Like when you join the fruitcake of the month and you got to pay $20 every month and they send you a fruitcake.
Let me just do a quick reminder as you're kind of talking about this. Here on the MSC Cruisecast, we talk MSC, right?
Right.
But in Taste Try Travel, which is kind of what we are, Triple T, we love all cruise ships. We go on all cruise ships. We've just kind of been doing a lot of MSC lately, but we are not opposed to any cruise line whatsoever. So I think this whole ship of the month is going to kind of encapsulate that, right? That whole feeling of we love cruising.
Right.
All ships.
But those Cunard folks.
No.
I don't know about them. Every other cruise line.
Everyone but that.
Cunard, they're sketchy. Anyway, so the first design is this month, September.
Yep.
And it is the Regal Princess.
That's right. She's a beautiful ship. We went on that in 2022, right?
Yes. I really enjoyed Regal Princess.
Right out of COVID, it was so great. But
I love their new ship designs.
Yeah.
I really do, even though I heard that Sun Princess is having a little trouble with certain areas. I think that whole, not that I'm dissing Carnival, but they're owned by Carnival. Carnival's having a ton of trouble with and Princess is having a ton of trouble. It sounds like
I need to get it together.
I need to promote from without further than within in the Carnival. Anyway, the design is the Regal Princess. And
It's beautiful.
I kind of went with the flowing. It's the ship, the front of the ship.
Yep.
But the ship is a princess.
Yes.
And it's got kind of the flowing hair is the waves. Is the waves in the ocean, or the waves in the clouds. And it's got a beautiful little crown on top where the mast and the stacks would be.
Gorgeous. I love it.
Yeah, I really love that too.
So every month, Chris is going to do a different ship. So different cruise line, different ship. It doesn't necessarily have to be one that we've been on. Whatever he has fun with, he's going to do. And so these will be available
the beginning of each month on our store.
Which there's a link.
There's a link below.
Yep. And so you can, if like say you're going on one of these ships, you can get a shirt with the design on it. I don't know. It's a great idea. We have,
or just if you want one of those, you like one of the designs, and or you want to collect the stickers. That's awesome, because I think that's what I'm going to do with all these designs.
Exactly. We love to collect stickers.
And then when I really like one of the designs that I do, which I'll probably like all of them, I'll probably get a shirt or something, maybe a hat or something. I don't know what I'll do.
And then
I already got one design for next month. Well, I have an idea for the design for next month.
Got to work on it.
Yeah.
And then what we're going to do for our Patreon Globetrotters, which is the highest level of Patreon, we're going to go ahead and send one of these to you guys every month. So it's just as a thank you. So anyway, we're looking forward to seeing what kind of designs Chris comes out with.
Yeah, and
but they're going to be so good.
If you're listening to this on the...
I'm going to post it on social media so everyone can see it as well.
Right. If you're listening to this the day that it comes out, which is Thursday, September 12th. Yep. You still have about... Well, you have the rest of the day.
The sale will end today. Yeah, Thursday. For
20% off on all our merchandise.
Yeah.
On our shop, and that's going to end tonight. So
check it out. It's really cute, and I'm not just saying this to sell it, because we don't really. That's not really the way we are. But I got this shirt and I really love it. I got the roll cuff women's shirt. And it fits really nice. I'm excited. We're excited to wear them on our cruise next week. So,
all right. Enough of that. Oh, yep. Enough of that. Let's move on. Well, I'm not comfortable ever promoting ourselves.
I know it's hard. It's always hard.
So I feel like I need to just move on. Just move on. We mentioned it. Move on. All right. Go ahead.
I want to say a huge thank you. And our shout out this week is to... Chuck and oh my goodness, I need to make sure I say her name. Yeah, Chuck and Vicky Loris. You guys sent some amazing information after we talked about some of the World America restaurants, the La Pescaderia.
Didn't hear it.
Yay! Thank you, Chuck, Vicky. If you can even hear it. Just sharing that when you that is a restaurant that's going to be on the World America. They dined there or had some information from it when they were on the World Europa, and so just real quick, because I just wanted to mention this, the kind of like the 3 dining package that you buy ahead of time that you save money on, the La Pescaderia is not part of that. You have to buy a special dining plan for that, and then it's a little bit limited the way MSC likes to do their menus. So just he gave me kind of a heads up on that MSC's funky with their
I have to say,
they just are.
I'm editing this week, just a sneak peek. I'm editing all the food for this week's video from Seashore, and just going back over everything again, watching the videos. I'm like, MSC is just all over the place with how they price and how you can purchase.
Yep.
And because the dining plans work at some restaurants, some they don't.
Right.
Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's only for certain things. Sometimes it's not.
Yep.
Sometimes you can't do that. You have to go there. But then when you go there, you can buy a dining experience, or you just buy a la carte. It's just all over the place.
And I understand the concept of it, because they want to give you a better, like a discount, and the discount is sometimes hard to do for the higher end priced things. So I understand the concept of why they do what they do. But you're exactly right. It's all over the place, and it's confusing to people who are just used to just a very simple dining plan.
It makes it very hard for us YouTubers.
I know.
To explain it to people. Because you will get questions like, oh, does it work at this well?
Exactly.
It does, with 7,000 asterisks attached to it. So
also a huge thank you, because you guys sent us like a couple little hints on how to get invites.
Hey,
and we are not sharing those. I'm just saying.
Zip it.
I'm not sharing those. That is gold. So thank you guys for taking the time and sharing that information. You are amazing.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to utilize my phone for a little bit of this information, because it can be a little bit in depth, and I am in no way a engineer or a very smart person. So I'm going to let the smart people talk. That's you. I'm going to not comment on that. Okay. One of the things, well, let me start by saying this. I believe that Chris and I are basically tree huggers at heart.
Yes.
We do what we can.
I still have splinters all over.
We do what we can in our limited way to take care of the environment, right? So, but we know it's a huge, huge thing. And we love that the cruise or the vacation that we go on, they think it's a pretty big thing too. And they're putting huge, huge amounts of money and effort into making the carbon footprint of cruising less. And other cruise lines, I'm sure, are doing some things, but nobody is doing it to the extent of MSC. And there's a lot of details that maybe just like the casual cruiser may not know about. But that's what we're here for. To try to break it down a little bit and share some of these nuggets with you, because it's really important.
We slink down those back alleyways of the internet trying to find all those weird articles that nobody reads, but we want to read, because we want to bring you a little bit of information behind the scenes sometimes.
Yeah.
It's kind of what goes into their thought process, how they arrive at some of the ways that they do things. Right. Because I think as cruisers, sometimes all we see is the ship is there and it's going to take us to these places and it's going to feed us, and then we're going to come back and wish we were back on another one, and that's it.
We see the abundance of everything, like as a guest, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But we don't see that, what happens underneath, what happens to all the food waste, what happens, all
exactly.
that,
But there's a lot of things that go into like them deciding which port they're going to go to, what they're going to serve guests, how they're going to do a private island. There's all sorts of stuff that goes on at a behind, I keep saying behind the scenes, at a behind the scenes area that they're making decisions that are based on not only the profitability of the company, which needs to exist because they won't be a company without profitability. It doesn't feel like
that is like the number one, right?
Exactly. They also take into account so many other things, and they are huge into reducing
sustainability,
their impact on the environment.
Yep. Because also, if you think about, remember, I think we talked many podcasts ago about MSC parent company is MSC Shipping. So their entire lives are on the ocean. So they have a vested interest in making sure they do things right moving forward to keep the oceans.
Right, because
that's as deep as I got.
It's just... I think we're going to talk about one of the ports, Barcelona. Right now, people are starting to realize how much of an impact shipping has, and not just shipping, but all ocean vessels have on the ocean and the environment. And there's a little bit of a backlash now, where people are like, we don't want them in these ports because they're just making the ports miserable,
right? And
they're destroying the marine environment around these. So I think that, well, we're going to get into that, but MSC kind of sees that that's really an important area they need to address.
Absolutely. So like I said, I'm going to read some of this, so bear with me. I'm not going to read huge chunks, but this is an article that came out in Cruise and Ferry. Again, not probably common reading for a lot of folks.
I think we have a few ferries in Triple T land also, along with Munchkins.
Oh.
It's a happy
different
land.
kind of ferry.
It's a happy land.
It is. The title of this article is How MSC Cruises is Pushing the Boundaries. So, of course, I was like, oh, well, I want to read that article. So, Pier Francisco Vargo, which is the owner of the company, explains how MSC Cruises is helping lead the cruise industry into a new era with its high-tech ships, pioneering environmental sustainability technologies, that's a lot of big words, and commitment to continually redefine the guest experience. So I want to start by telling you what they did. The 6,327 guest MSC Eureba, so that was 2 ships ago, right? So it's fairly recent, marked a paradigm shift for cruising when it sailed the world's first net zero greenhouse gas emission cruise in June of 2023. The vessel embarked on a 4-day maiden voyage from the shipyard in France to Copenhagen, powered by bio-LNG fuel on a mass balance basis that had been produced from food waste. A net zero. That was the world's first cruise ship that's ever done that. And they did that on purpose as kind of like this test. Obviously, that's not how they run all the time, but all of the fuel that they use, that bio-LNG, was just from food waste, which on cruise ships there's so much, but they don't make it on the food. They don't make it on the ships, but
I was going to say, it's not it's not because people threw away part of their lobster that night. They were able to go a little bit further. That's not exactly how it works, but yes.
But they are trying it for the last, this article was really in depth, so we're going to try to pick apart just a little bit of it. But basically over the last 10 years, and we're just kind of seeing the the realities of it in this last couple of years. MSC has been working towards making this goal. So, can
I just say, it sounded like a little break just right there. Mm-hmm. That's quite an incredible thing. Mm-hmm. To run the cruise ship with fuel and have a zero.
Yep.
What's the term?
A net zero greenhouse, basically greenhouse emissions.
Right.
Now, a couple of things with that there. I don't believe there were guests on that cruise. I think it was just the transition one, and it was just like but it was this test of if you can do it, right?
Exactly. You've got to
start somewhere and set that.
Exactly. You've got to figure out if it's possible and what to expect when you start to implement it into everyday cruising. So, yes.
Yeah. So, then what they said is, as much as MSC's been working towards getting their ships able to utilize these biotechnologies, bio-LNG, all of these renewable resources. One of the things it says is government and international organizations must lead the way by creating regulatory and financial incentives and encouraging cruise operators, fuel providers, technology companies, ports, and other key stakeholders to combine resources so they can build the necessary infrastructure and supply chain. This, combined with continued technology advancements, will accelerate the decarbonization of the industry and enable us to achieve consistent net zero emission cruising by the 2050 ambition set by the IMO, the International Marine Organization. So as much as MSC is working, you also need the other side, right? You need the other side that's pushing for that. And they, pushing to make those bio, there's like 4 of them. There's a bio LNG, which is liquid natural gas. There's a synthetic LNG, a green hydrogen, and a green methanol. Those are all kind of these like renewable things. So if MSC builds these ships, but if there's not a supply of those, that doesn't really work, right? So it kind of has to come from both sides.
Right. And another thing that's behind the scenes, because there's just ships have to take on fuel about every other port.
Right.
They just don't, they're in Miami, they get fueled up and then they're good for the next
week, right?
however long you're on that cruise.
Right.
That's not the way it is. Right. Unless, you might be on a 3-day cruise, so they might be able to do that. But, it's just another thing that goes on behind the scenes. Right. That makes them. So how are they going to implement this LNG goal that they have?
Right.
They have to figure out what ports will sustain that, make it possible, so that they can cruise around there.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to tell you a couple interesting things real quick. The carbon intensity is really what they're calling the greenhouse gas emissions that are let off. So what's interesting is in 2023, MSC reduced their carbon intensity by 6.5%, which doesn't sound like big, but it's doing a lot of changes the way they do. They take care of their waste, the way they have LED lighting inside all their cruise ships. All these little things have added up.
Shore power.
Yep, which we're going to talk about that in a second, because that's pretty big. That's okay. But since 2008, when they actually started making some changes, MSC has reduced their carbon imprint by 37% since 2008.
2008.
So they're constantly improving whatever they can do on their end. Some of these big things like the biofuel, some of that stuff's out of their control. They don't, until everyone else gets on board, but they're doing what they can in their ships. And I think that's pretty cool. So the IMO has a target and I don't know who this is for. I'm hoping it's for like cruise ships in general. By 2030, they want everyone to be able to reduce their carbon intensity by 40%. And it's 2024 and MSC is already at 37%. So they're kind of like above target. They're little overachievers, which I love. I'm going to wait to do the quote to the end. You were talking about shore power, but I want to tell you one other thing that is interesting. They tested this new program on MSC Bellissima last year, and it's a program called Opti Cruise, OPTI, and then Cruise. And what it does is it's a computer system, AI, I don't know. You might know more than that. But it basically, they plug in, all right, our itinerary is Miami, Puerto Plata. I'm trying to think where we're going next week. San Juan, Nassau. So they plug in all of the ports. And then what this computer system does is it taps into the weather, the currents, knows all that information. And it basically is a smart system for the ship and telling it the perfect route to take within the weather and all that, to utilize as little fuel as possible. And it actually, on this test for the Bellissima, it decreased the fuel consumption during the test period for almost up to 15%.
Wow.
Which is mad. If you can imagine how much fuel is used, this program kind of goes in and is like the smart little calendars. Oh, winds are coming up. Let's do this. And kind of through the whole cruise, it kind of makes the ship smarter, like the brain smarter. So they haven't rolled it out in all of the all their ships yet, but it was a very successful test.
It's like how I use you for Taste Try Travel. Like I want to go on a cruise. And then I input that information to Beth. I say, Beth, I want to go on a cruise. And then but like a week later, she comes back and is like, hey, here's the cruise. And I'm like, wow.
I like that idea.
That's amazing.
I like that. Another part in that, if you think that it's interesting, it's called circular design. Circular design is taking and thinking about not only sustainability for the fuel and parts of the ship, but actually the design elements inside the ship. So using more recycled things in the ship's interior. So they have been using on World Europa, they have some recycled carpets. They have some recycled material for signs. So there's also a push to utilize sustainable vendors to fill the ship with stuff, which is another great thing to look at because there's a lot inside of a ship. Let's talk about shore power. We've talked about it a couple times, but basically it is the cruise ship plugging in to the port.
Right.
When they're in port, so they can turn their diesel engines off.
Exactly. They bring out an extension cord.
Yeah.
And run it right over to right inside the door there, plug it in. So watch where you're stepping when you're out there so you don't accidentally pull it out. The entire ship goes.
In 2023, well, let me just say that several of the MSC ships are equipped with this already, with this big plug already, like ready to go. But you don't have as many ports that actually have the outlet to plug into. So in 2023, last year, they
multi-plug at those places. Buy those folks a multi-plug.
They did 44 shore power connections, and those are mainly in Norway, Germany, UK, and Malta. And their goal is to have 220 by the end of 2024. So then it's really, again, putting a lot of money into the infrastructure of the port itself. And some of these that aren't new ports, it's a lot of reconstruction to be able to do this. But it saves so much extra pollution and everything when you're in port for 10 hours, and they can turn most of those engines off and just go offshore power. So, and I know a lot of cruise lines are looking at doing this too, because it's just very easy, right? This should be an easy thing to do. I don't know. Then all of those things. Then the last thing we want to talk about is Barcelona. We're going to talk about the Barcelona Port. They have been building. I think it's almost finished. They've been working on it for a while. The reason Barcelona Port is going to be so key to MSC's, because they have a lot of ships in the Mediterranean. So Barcelona is building this beautiful, kind of like the one that they're building in Miami, this beautiful new terminal. And how it kind of ties back to what we're talking about is they are going to have LNG bunkers there. Yeah. So the big tanks, so they'll be able to refuel with whatever LNG they have. So hopefully in the future, if that turns bio, those bunkers are already there, so it's easily changeable. And then of course they're going to have a good amount of shore power there. So it's kind of like the blueprint for what they're doing in Miami. It's like the perfect port. It's everything MSC needs to continue its sustainability right there. So it's kind of practice round, but when they get to Miami. So in Miami, we all know that they're building the big, beautiful, world's largest cruise terminal, and there is going to be LNG bunkers as well as shore power. So those are two like really big things that are continue to push MSC further in their goal for sustainability.
And Barcelona is one of those ports I was talking about just a little bit earlier. Yeah. That is, they have now outlawed any cruise ships from the city center port. Okay. They're moving them out to further away.
Off, yeah.
So they are seeing the impact that cruises have on.
There's so many cruise ships that go through there.
Exactly. It's one of the largest in Europe. They're seeing the impact there, and their citizens just said, we don't want that so close to the city. It's just having a negative impact on everything. So they are moving the ships further away, like 10 miles, well, maybe not even that far, 5 miles further away. The Royal Caribbean is building a port.
They're building a new one, yep.
And Barcelona, and then just on the other side of the Royal Caribbean port is going to be MSC's port. Our terminal. I keep saying port.
I know. It's a terminal.
They're just on the other side of that is going to be MSC's. So they're going to be actually the furthest one on that little strip of land that sticks out from Barcelona city center. And when I was reading about this, just to go back to what you were saying about building the infrastructure at the terminals, at the ports, MSC was actually in talks to buy the world's largest port operator. I can't remember the name of it now. I probably should have written this down, but you reminded me of it. They were in talks to purchase that company so that they could do the infrastructure on so many of their ports. But they would just be in charge of it. They would just be able to get it done. But the company didn't want to. They were fighting the purchase. They were trying to do it friendly and not make it a takeover, and they just resisted them the entire way, probably because they're making a lot of money.
Wow.
So MSC backed out of that. I think this year, or maybe it was last year, they backed out of that. So they're just trying to work with the individual port operators. This was a big one. It was the biggest one in the world to get that infrastructure built.
Yeah.
They're actually going to be the ones that are going to, they're in charge of Barcelona Port. They run all the port there. So that's just one of the areas that they were hoping they could, as they're building these.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of making the
these new terminals.
Right.
They could build the infrastructure without having to go through a third party. And
I'm sure this union and all that can be really tough. Yeah.
So I thought that was rather interesting that they were trying to fast track a lot of the infrastructure into being able to support all of the changes that they want to do on their ships. They wanted to fast track the land side of it, but they were unable to purchase the...
Can you imagine the red tape and all of the things and permits that they've got to do?
Well, I just imagine it's a big, huge investment to do that. I mean, I don't know.
Massive.
If it's the largest port operator in the world, they probably run 200-300 ports maybe around the world. I don't know. I'm totally guessing, but if they're the biggest, then they run a lot. And that's a huge investment. If a company is like, we want to be able to have LNG tanks and want to be able to do the shore power there. And that's probably a huge investment for a smaller company that runs those. MSC, that's a big company. They got a little bit more capital, and so they can invest in that quicker, get it done quicker. So
and you don't know how much, like, we don't know too much about the MSC shipping side. We don't know if they're trying to change some of their shipping vessels over to that or not, so that might play a big part in that too. I don't know. I'm going to kind of wrap this up with a quote from Pier Vargo. So Vargo, I'm sorry. He says, "We are a family-owned company led by a hands-on management team with decades of shipping experience and the ability to turn progressive ideas into reality. We don't need to satisfy external shareholders, so we can make quick decisions and invest in whatever we believe will be best for the business and our people in the long term. We'll continue to push design, engineering, and technical boundaries to make a meaningful, measurable change that has a long-term positive impact on our guests, our employees, and our planet. And of course, we will do this all while delivering the best possible onboard and destinational experience for our guests." We've been saying that.
I'm glad that he said that.
He finally said it, because we've been saying that.
We know that they are able to implement stuff very quickly. Very quickly. And it's because what he said. I think that's the best quote I've heard in a long time. That's exactly one of the things that makes MSC so special for us. Is their ability to adapt and change and innovate, and
for things that are important too.
Exactly. That's what.
Like, this is not just to we're going to make money, we're going to make these changes. I mean, there's reasons behind what they did, or what they're doing. If you want to read this article, it's really interesting. And if you're interested in a lot of details, it is published in the autumn-winter 2024 issue of Cruise and Ferry Review. So a little bit of a heavy read, but
since they're so quick in changing things, I just want to throw it out there to the R&D division. That Doremi, the little star logo character of theirs,
yes,
Doremi.
We all know Doremi.
Needs to be the sidekick. They can keep Doremi.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of like their kids' like little thing. So
exactly.
Yeah. Dormy can stay.
Dormy can stay.
He just needs to be quiet.
He just needs to be. He needs to exactly and be the sidekick to Steampunk Humpty Dumpty.
Absolutely.
Steampunk Humpty Dumpty is really what encapsulates MSC.
Like, can you imagine how great your boarding day would be if you like got on and there was like a Steampunk Humpty Dumpty egg dancing for you?
Right. Instead of Dormy.
What?
I don't know you. Are you friendly? That isn't a great experience when you first get on. But Steampunk Humpty Dumpty.
I'm going to tell you guys, whenever you see Dormy, you're going to hear that voice now. It's just going to happen. That's going to pretty much wrap up this week's podcast, but it kind of ties into what we're going to do for you guys next week. Next week's podcast, we're just going to talk about boarding day. We're going to talk about MSC boarding day, what we do, fun things. We're just going to talk about boarding day. We're getting ready to board. I'm getting all my, I don't know what you're doing, Chris. I'm getting all my plans of what I need to do.
I'm utilizing our Optima. What was
Opti
it?
Cruise.
Our Opti Cruise area of Taste Try Travel. I'm going to be sending all that to you.
Okay.
All the boarding, getting ready for boarding to you, and you will.
And what will you be doing? That's a big
waiting for the result.
Oh, okay. Check out, if you want some cool shirts, check out our merch store. All the information is down below. Remember, today is the last day for the discount. We'll probably put another discount on at some point, but you don't know when. So
you don't know.
It's going to be a surprise. Thank you so much for joining us, spending time with us, listening to us talk. We appreciate it.
Yep.
We appreciate you guys.
100%.
That's all we have, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.